if you're in India right now and if you've already got an admit from a university in US and you're trying to figure out what will be the expenses, how much will be the cost, would you get a job offer after your masters? How do you apply for career fairs? How do you prepare for your career fairs? So what kind of tips and tricks can you apply on your resume so that it's picked up in the career fairs? How do you find part-time jobs? All these kind of good knowledge would be shared in this particular episode. So this episode is for you if you're someone in India or someone else who got an admit into a university in US. Today we have Ajinkya Dande, who graduated from Arizona State University, and he did his master's in computer science from ASU. And in this video, he's going to tell you all the new nuances and the tricks that he applied to actually successfully graduate from ASU. In the previous videos, with Ajinkya, we've spoken about like how do you get a job after bachelor's, experience of job between bachelor's and masters. Should you be doing your job after your bachelor's or not? Also, how hackathons help you get basically more expertise in your personality and also eventually land a job. So if you're interested, if you're someone who is still in bachelor's and not quite sure if you want to do a master's or a job, go back to the previous podcast and I can link that in the description below as well. In this podcast, it's all about during masters and post masters. So welcome to the channel, Ajinkya Dande.
Thank you.
Do you want to quickly give, for the new users or for the new viewers, do you want to quickly tell a brief introduction about yourself and then maybe we can get started with the master's piece?
Absolutely. So, as already Ame introduced me, my name is Ajinkya. I did my master's from ASU. I started my master's in 2019 and I graduated in 2021. And after 2021 till today, I've been working with LinkedIn as a software engineer. My major expertise while working at LinkedIn is mostly on the infrastructure side as well as the application side. So I've worked with multiple teams, a few across infra, and currently I'm working with the applications team, more specifically the marketing solutions team. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. So let's start with like living, right? Like once you get an admit in Arizona State University, I think people live in Tempe city,
that's
right?
right. Yeah.
So can you tell a bit about the areas in Tempe which are safe and which are not that safe? Where is the Indian community saturated? Where usually students look for like rent, like what do you say, rent houses? And what are some Facebook groups that like, how did you approach your journey of like finding a roommate and eventually finding a house for rent?
Absolutely, that's a great question. When I got admit to the ASU, it was maybe like January or February 2019, and the semester usually starts in August, so we still have like 6-ish months to prepare for our housing. And a few things which I did for my house hunting was joining the Facebook groups, connecting with some alumni who are already working, who are already studying in Arizona State University. So Arizona State University is a ginormous, a huge university with like about 100,000 students. So and it has like different campuses as well around the Phoenix area. So Tempe is a part of Phoenix. Phoenix is a city which is like the capital city of Arizona. So Tempe is more like a college townish vibe, but still a part of the city. So that's the best thing about Tempe. I used to love Tempe. I still love. I joined a lot of Facebook groups, a few Telegram channels I was a part of. I think the name of the Facebook group was Tempe Housing something. Okay. That said, talking about where students live, there are a few options. The number one option which you should look into is the campus housing. Not many Indian, at least master student, opt for these options because it is slightly more expensive than what you can get outside of the campus. But that is like one of the very good and easier options. You can just email the university that, hey, I'm looking for on-campus housing, and they can give you all the necessary forms and everything that comes with that. Okay, an easier option, but slightly on the expensive end. A lot of Indian folks opt for living outside of campus. So there are multiple small, I would say, apartment complex, or maybe, yeah, like what can I call it? Like rentals, okay,
Right.
where you can rent a 2-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment, whatever works for you, and you can start living there. So how to look for these apartments? A few places. First one being looking at the Facebook channels. That is like the best place. That's how I got my apartment. Okay, I had a few friends with me. I'll come to the friends part slightly later. Friends meaning like roommates and friends. Facebook channel. Second one is looking at some of the online websites like apartments.com, Zillow, StreetEasy, where you can essentially get a vibe of how much the rent is gonna be, so that you can just have a little bit of cost estimate on your end as to, hey, you can kind of prepare yourself that I need to spend X amount of money per month in order to live in the Tempe area. So that's that. Usually in Arizona, in Tempe, you can get housing very close to the university. So my house was like 5-10 minutes away. I used to ride a bike there, so I had a bike. I used to love my bike. So yeah, it was 10 minutes away. And on the Facebook group, one person put on an ad that he had a 2 bedroom and he was ready to accommodate 3 people, so that we will be a total of 4 of us sharing like 2 bedrooms, and let's say like a 2 bedroom apartment within us. So I got an admit with 2 of my friends from VIT, and I already was very much decided on that I'll be sharing the apartment with both of them. So this guy sort of put an ad. We just reached out to him immediate basis. So one thing, okay, you have to be quick. You have to really apply early, because if you, let's say, lose a day, the apartment might be gone. Okay, because the admit rate of ASU is huge, so a lot of people apply. So you have to be quick.
And
Yeah.
what about the safety, right? Because I think in Phoenix and Tempe, like I was in NYU from New York, and we had areas where people used to like saturate in terms of students because it was more safer as compared to other areas.
Yeah.
So in Phoenix, in Tempe, was like, are there areas where people should avoid, or are there areas where usually people find good rental apartments?
Phoenix and Tempe, like Phoenix in general, I would not talk about Phoenix because Phoenix is a bigger city, and like even like a 15 minutes driving is not a feasible option for most of the students who are going to the to study there from Indian background. I'm specifically talking about them. But in Phoenix, okay, there is this very interesting thing. Okay, so I did a project during my masters. It was regarding the crime concentration of areas in the Tempe area. So the most famous crime in the area was bicycle theft. Okay, so that's like the most prominent areas. There had been a few serious incidences here and there, but it was not like too serious. So the area, I would say, is on the safer end. However, I would definitely recommend living close to the university, because the closer you are, the safer it is. Okay, because the university can take care. University has their own police station, and a lot of avenues. They are just very accessible if you're close to the university. So that's that. And there are, let's say, a few apartment complex which I am aware of is, for example, Tempe Terrace or Agave, or there were a few more, I'm forgetting the name, but these are like some of the very famous areas where students live. Because of the cost affordability, it's very affordable. And the proximity to the campus. So these are some of the few reasons. Also, Arizona has this transit. So they have the trains
Local
which are free
transit.
of cost, local transits. So you can also take advantage of them. I had a few friends who were living like 10 minutes away from campus, but they used to transit to the campus. So they were living close to the transit station. That's also like one of the options which people can explore. At the end, you have to decide on what is the best cost which you are willing to spend out of your pocket. And the second thing is the safety. I would say the area is pretty much safe, but still it is always good to see some reviews around the buildings. Most of the buildings are gated buildings, by the way, in Arizona. So it's not like anyone can come to your home and do whatever. So that does not have that is usually not the case there.
Makes sense. And now let's say talking about the coursework, right, in the college. So can you tell a bit about how does the elective selection work? What kind of course schedule? How does the course schedule for ASU look like? We can also touch upon like which courses are relevant in terms of finding a full-time job, and how difficult it is to like maintain a GPA.
Okay, that's a wonderful question. Okay, so ASU CS degrees, there are 3 different types of ASU CS degrees. One is the MSCS, Masters of Science in Computer Science. One is the MCS, Masters in Computer Science, and the third one is the MSCS degree comes with the option of thesis or the project work. The project work, actually, that's kind of same as the MCS degree. So MCS and MSCS. MCS degree has 2 flavors. One is MCS with a thesis. Another one is MCS with the project work. Okay. Then there is MCS degree, which inherently comes with a project work requirement.
Okay.
So MSCS with project and MCS is very much the same. There is just one difference. You cannot be a TA in the MCS degree. Okay. Teaching assistant, you cannot. Teaching or research assistant, both of these options are not for you if you are admitted for MCS. And the third flavor of the degrees is the software engineering degrees in ASU. Okay, so MS in software engineering, that's the name of the degree. Okay, MSc, I'll talk about all 3 degrees and the requirements, and the later part of the question, what courses are good for getting a job, right? That was the question. So we'll touch upon that slightly later. Fine. So MSCS with a thesis option, This is a degree where you are expected to complete a certain coursework. Okay, so ASU has a very interesting coursework pattern. You need to complete like 10 coursework throughout your degree. 10 different courses. That means you have to pick like 10 different courses. All of it is very flexible. It's just that 3 courses you have to pick from 3 different buckets, and later all of the courses you can you can essentially mismatch and do whatever. Like you can even take a course from some other school as well. Like for example, a few of my friends took like course from business school, or electronics folks took from computer science and stuff like that. That's usually very common in ASU.
Okay.
So the 3 buckets are the foundations, I think, applications, and data, I believe. Yeah. The name might be like slightly, my knowledge might be rustic about the names, but there are 3 different buckets from which you can choose the courses.
Okay.
Foundation courses, meaning those are foundational computer science courses, like foundation of algorithms can be an example. Application courses can be like the courses which are centered towards developing applications. Cloud computing can be one of the example. The data courses talks about fundamentals of data sciences or stuff like that.
Right.
The data processing at scale or machine learning can be some of the examples on this bucket. Okay, so you have to take 3 from each bucket, and once you are done with that, the rest of the 7 courses you have all the freedom.
Okay.
So this is pertinent for all the degrees. Now for MSCS you have to do a thesis. So you have to dedicatedly talk to a professor in your semester 1 mostly, and you have to like basically impress him that, hey, I'm good enough to do a thesis with you, and once professor agrees, then you can do thesis with him. So that's like a prolonged project, and at the end you have to present your thesis. A great option for someone who is looking for research opportunities.
Okay.
Second one is the MSCS and MCS degrees, which I did. Okay, so here you don't have a thesis option. Even though one more thing, okay, one very important thing, you can jump between the degrees as during your coursework as well. Like I had a friend who was enrolled for the MSCS thesis option, but he's like, okay, I don't want to do thesis anymore. So he jumped from thesis to non-thesis. Okay, here the 3 buckets which I mentioned, this stays the same here, meaning MSCS and the MCS degree.
Okay.
With the project option, the 3 buckets stays the same, and at the end you have to write a paper in which you have to you have to put in the information about the 3 most impactful project you worked during your degree, and you have to take a sign off from each professor who was your instructor during that time. So it's like a very formal procedure. So you have to write a report about the project. The professor will evaluate the project as well as the report, and they will if let's say they want some changes in the report, they'll reach out to you, and you can do the changes. There is like a review process which happens there, and once everything looks good, the professor will sign off. So you have a sign off. You have to get 3 different sign offs and write a paper around this. So that's the MSCS degree and MCS degree. Not
without thesis.
With the project option.
With the project option.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last one is the software engineering degree, which essentially is a fusion degree in Arizona Tempe campus and the Arizona Phoenix campus. So within Phoenix, Arizona has different campuses as well.
Okay.
So here, I don't think that they had a project option, but they needed to like do a presentation at the end of their degree, meaning that they have to pick a course, and then they have to present the finding of the course and the future research opportunities in that course. For example, let's take a simple example here. AI, for example, like deep learning is the course which you pick up, let's say, during your degree. You have to like through and through look at the very recent research which are happening in the deep learning area, draw a presentation out of it, and present it for like 15 to 20-ish minutes, and that's like the degree requirement.
And I think during my time as well, I think in NYU we had multiple courses, and each course had multiple professors as well. And
That's
I think
right.
we used ratemyprofessor.com.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of gives you an idea of like, which
it.
professor to choose for each courses. And just for everyone's benefit, I think for each course they have like, let's say 3 professors. There will be seats opening up at a certain date, and then if you don't really get seat in one professor, then there's no other option but you have to take seats in other 2 professors. So it's very important for you to do your research, or rate my professor, or talk to your seniors, because some professors are very strict and you might get a lower or a medium grade, and some professors are easy, so you might get a good grade but for the same course. So same course might have different grades based on who teaches it. Coming back to the point of, let's say, GPA, right? So in masters, everyone is like there are multiple factors where people are focused on. People are focused on GPA, people are focused on getting internships on campus, full time, a lot of items.
Yeah.
Also get like the culture shock after you come from India to US.
Absolutely.
In these situations, what's the best strategy to maintain a good GPA? Like what are some combinations that you should avoid in order to maintain a GPA?
That's a great question. I have very good pointers on this, which really helped me, and I learned it the hard way. Okay, so it goes this way. You said rate my professor, right? Rate my professor is an excellent place to at least have a preliminary understanding of how the professor is, how strict he is with the evaluation, as well as when it comes to teaching. So there are a few professors who are great with teaching but not so great with the grading. Fine, you can at least get to learn a lot of things from the course. Some professors who are great with the grading, not so great with the teaching. Fine, you can get a good grade in that course. Some professors are like who are not great at teaching, not great at grading. You should avoid those professors. Okay. So at ASU, getting a course is a competitive business because a lot of students get enrolled, and the number of seats are limited. It used to start at like 12 p.m. at night, and you have to enroll at 12 p.m. Otherwise, the chance is lost because whatever the number of seats are, those are gone now,
Right.
and you will not get the you will not get the seat anymore.
Right.
So you have to be there. So what I used to do is I used to start a timer, and I used to put in all of the courses in my cart, and I used to be on they had like a nice checkout kind of like a portal. You just have to check out. You don't have to pay anything, but you just have to check out the courses. Okay. So I used to add all of the courses in my cart, and all I had to do was to click
that button.
Click the checkout button. Okay. When it is like 12.00.00, I used to write a microseconds timer in front of me, and as soon as it hits 12, I used to like hit the checkout button. The first semester, what happened with me is that accidentally, because I didn't know all of these things, what I did is I picked up hard and medium course.
Okay.
So because of that, the coursework was very brutal, and it took like I had to invest a lot of time in order to get decent grades in the first semester. Okay. The reason being that not aware of how to how to research professors as well as how brutal the grading may be for some of the professors. So the example of like great professor, brutal grading, it happened to me for 2 courses in the first semester, and okay professor and okay grading with one. So that's one medium. Right. That's a very interesting way in which you can assess how much effort you need to put in every single course. So it goes this way. Before enrollment, you usually get like a brochure of, it's kind of like a syllabus. Okay. Right. For every university has it that, hey, you will be learning all of these things, right? So it contains a number that you need to invest these many hours per week in order to successfully complete this course. Okay. It can be 8 hours, it can be 10 hours, it can be 14, 16, that's variable as per the courses. Okay. Some of the courses, it has like 6 to 8 hours, 10 hours. Some courses it is 16 hours. So 16 hours, it's a heavy course, it's a hard course. Okay. 6 to 8 hours, it's a easy course. Think about that. Okay. Let's take a practical example. If you take 3 heavy courses, 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours, that means you have to invest 36 hours just on the coursework. 36 hours is more like 36 by 5, approximately 7 hours a day if you are working 5 days a week. Right. Which is brutal. So you should not opt for all the 3 courses in the same semester, but like you should distribute them over multiple semesters. Pick one hard, pick one medium, pick one easy. That's usually the way to go. First semester, my GPA got hampered. From the next semester, I got smarter, and my GPA improved. So by the time I graduated, my GPA was like good. I would say good.
Why so basically, we should not kind of take all the hard courses in the first semester. Absolutely. Especially when you're dealing with a culture shock. You are trying to get an internship. You're trying to perfect your resume, and then if you take all the hard courses, it gets really difficult.
I'm not including the on-campus jobs because once they come into picture, exactly, everything also it changes things.
And that's a good segue into like how do you start finding part-time jobs? And I think before that as well, I think one easy tip is just be friends with your seniors. Because seniors have gone through it, they know the bad things and the good things.
Absolutely.
So when I was in NYU, I went through my seniors, I spoke to them a lot, and then they kind of advised me what courses to take, what courses to not take, which helped me maintain my GPA. Again, like 4-pointer GPA is not always required. I think anything above 3.5 should be good from a qualifying perspective. if you want to take hard course, sure, go ahead, but just
Hmm.
make sure you're compensating for your lower GPA so that your
Absolutely.
net is 3.5. And seniors again are the best resources that you can like go to. Coming back to the topic of, let's say, part-time job,
Mhm.
right? What in ASU, I think it depends on different universities as well. In NYU, in ASU, both are different campuses. ASU has a big campus, NYU is just like a building, right? And its campus is spread across like in New York City. Not to say NYU doesn't have a campus. It has a campus, but it doesn't really have like a campus village
Yeah.
types of campus, right? So, but ASU has it, and hence I think the type of on-campus job you can get also differs,
Hmm.
because NYU was very focused on, let's say, teaching assistant, graduate assistant, because that's something you can do inside a building.
Hmm.
But outside of the building, if you are a village campus, there are multiple things you can do. Where I think Ajinkya's point of view will also help us understand. Okay, from an ASU point of view, what are some ways that he was able to find a part-time job?
Absolutely. So I did a grader's job. So what graders mean is that we are just TAs. It's just that we are not responsible for teaching.
Hmm.
So my professor was actually, he had a very gray line between a TA and a grader. Grader is a TA, TA is a grader. It was like that. So it goes this way. In order to apply for an on-campus job, ASU has its own internal job portal, okay, where you can search for job. First of all, Arizona is fantastic with on-campus jobs. Arizona has a lot of jobs, okay,
Hmm.
with different areas, focus areas. For example, there are dedicated software engineer jobs in ASU as well. So you can be a software engineer working with some real life clients, working
Hmm.
on some real life products in the university when you are a student. Okay,
Hmm.
the pay is good. Usually, it's well above the minimum pay, but it is something which will definitely get you going
Right.
through the semester, and it will not take much of a toll on you.
And how much is
Okay.
the average pay there? Like
Average pay, I think it was like 12.5 or 13 when during my time,
per hour.
per hour, yes, per hour. And the software engineer job which I'm mentioning is like 20-ish dollars per hour, 20,
Okay.
maybe close to 20. I wouldn't say like it's 20. I've seen some jobs with 24, $27 per hour as well. uh, those jobs were dedicated research assistant job, or like a research aid job, working with the professor on his research, writing papers,
Hmm.
presenting those papers. And the nature of the job was around those lines. Okay. ASU has a lot of jobs. You can be a librarian, you can be a sports like referee and that kind of thing. You can be a TA grader, you can be a research aide, you can be a teaching and research assistants as well. One great thing about teaching and research assistantship is that in the teaching assistantship, half of your fees is nullified.
Okay.
So which is great, like the tuition fees. Those are, there might be some terms and conditions, some intricacies on that, but usually that was the trend during my time. For RA, if let's say you do a fantastic job as an RA, and if the professor is very much impressed, he can even make a point for you, and depends on how much research his lab gets, like the he research meaning the how much finances his lab gets from the university, he can even get rid of your fees, so your
Wow.
masters can be for free. I know just one person who got that opportunity. His masters was for free, and it was fantastic for him. I mean, think about it. By the time you that is not including the pay. You are getting paid differently.
Hmm.
Your fees is
Fees
getting
getting rid
nullified.
of. Oh
So
wow.
by the time you get graduated, you are in
You
net
are net
positive.
positive.
You're net positive.
Exactly.
You don't need a loan or anything like that. So that was fantastic. ASU jobs are good, I would say. You have to be a few things. You have to be preemptive. You have to apply early. Again,
Hmm.
it's the same thing as the normal job as well. Apply early because
Hmm.
the jobs are more, but the number of students are also more.
Correct.
So apply early, appear for the interviews, and interviews are usually very nominal interviews. For some of the grader and the TA jobs, the one which I did, you have to take that course before you can be a grader for that
Exactly.
course
Right.
and have a good grade.
Okay, so now let's talk about career fairs, right? Before career fairs, actually, let's start with like resumes. Eventually, we'll go into career fairs, and then how do you get uh, internships and full time via career fairs? So, Ajinkya, do you want to give some advice for, let's say, anyone coming into the first semester for masters, how they should think about preparing their resumes?
Absolutely. The number one thing which comes to my mind, your resume should not be more than one page. It should be a one page resume, unless you have an experience of good like 8 to 10 years, maybe beyond that. Only those cases it is acceptable to have a longer resume, because of the sheer experience. 10 years is a long time. Okay, so it should not be more than one page for student, um, usually my kind of student who are coming for masters, right? On that one page you have to optimize the page very you have to be very mindful when you're writing the resume. So there should be dedicated sections on each and everything which you want to project, and think about your resume as it's the same as statement of purpose for admission committees. Your resume, the company only has that one page,
right,
to assess you, so you have to be very mindful of what you put on the resume. Some of the clear pointers is like your name should be on the top, you should have your LinkedIn, your email, your phone number stated.
right.
Those things are of course given. After that, your education should be clearly stated. If it is ongoing, you should write that ongoing. Current tentative GPA you can write if you want to. It's an optional thing. Usually it is not a compulsory thing to put on your GPA, but let's say if you wish to write it, then you can. Definitely it's a plus sometimes. So yeah, your education should be clearly stated. After that, some of the past experiences, for example, you may have done some internships or some past work
Right.
experiences, state them. Be, the work experience part should be very you should be very mindful about writing that part. You should focus on impact more than the the business aspect. If specifically I'm talking about software engineering in this case, okay, you have to think about three different things: what, why, and how. Okay, the first thing should be like what kind of project you're working on, how Spark and Scala application. So it was a data driven Spark Scala application, and the impact. The most important thing is impact. Created or optimize the pipeline by 35%, reducing the total build time from 20 minutes to 15 minutes, for example. Okay, something like that. So here you get a clear indication that my work created this impact.
So what, why, how, and quantifying, basically.
Quantifying. So and one more thing, quantification should be at the start. Everyone wants to see the impact. Because if you can advertise that, hey, I created this impact in my past experience, then I can create it in your company as well. Okay?
Makes sense.
So that's what I mean by writing it mindfully, that when your document will be in someone else's hand and they are reading it, they'll look at you like, okay, he's a go-getter. He creates impact, he optimizes procedures, and he can do it in Spark and Scala. Fantastic, right? All of your work experience should be presented in no more than 5 bullet points. At least that's how I look at it. It should not be too verbose. It should not be like, okay, 5 bullet points, but 3 lines per bullet point is like you're basically writing paragraphs and no one wants to read it out. So it should be succinct, it should be to the point, and it should answer the questions which someone may have in their mind.
Correct.
Okay. That's about the work experience. The last line you can, if you wish to, okay, have like what are the key technologies you used during your work experience, like key technologies, Java, Spring, MySQL, etc. Something like that, right? It can be, if you wish to omit it, fine, because the next section in the resume can be the key technologies you are comfortable with. Here you can be like, hey, in the server-side development, I'm comfortable with Java, Spring, Python, Django, and Flask and everything else, like that. Ruby on Rails and frameworks like these. ATS system, that's a very fun thing about ATS system. Okay, ATS system does not understand the statements. ATS system focuses on keywords. So your resume getting picked, what do we mean by that? Your keywords getting picked. Okay, for example, there is this employer who wants to hire for, let's say, a data engineer role, and they're looking for expertise in MySQL. Your resume does not contain MySQL as a word. ATS will immediately reject you, even though your experience may be one-to-one mapping with the role which they has to offer. So you have to mention the keywords somewhere or the other. So this usually is the section which I go for. I put in all of the key technologies I worked on, I'm comfortable with. And for college students, we can think about writing some impactful projects. It can be before the comfortable technologies, like the key technologies, or after that, it's fine. It totally depends on the individual. key projects should not have more than 2 to 3 bullet points. 3 bullet points is like the max. 2 usually is optimal. Clearly write the problem statement, clearly write the impact. Maybe the purpose can be one other statement. The purpose of this project was to research about X, or purpose of this project was to develop an application responsible for Y, something like that.
Makes
around
sense.
these lines. So I think, yeah, those are some of the resume pointers which I have.
And now that we have the resume sorted, in the career fairs, I think we can start with what does a career fair mean? A quick introduction about that. And then can you tell us a bit about what things someone should avoid and what things someone should not avoid when in a career fair?
Awesome. Career fair, usually in US, okay, we don't have campus placements, right? We don't have like companies coming in the campus placement, conducting an aptitude test, taking an interviews which is dedicated to that particular college or university. It is not like that. Okay, in USA, everything is open campus. By open campus, out of campus, not open campus, but out of campus. But career fair is usually companies coming to the dedicated targeted universities,
Right.
usually for either for awareness, for information sharing, or hiring the local talent. That is usually one of the very primary targets for the companies who attend career fairs. For example, American Express or Intel or Amazon, they have their physical offices in Phoenix. So now, you being, let's say you are Amazon, okay, what would make more sense for you? Hiring someone who is living right next door, or someone who is in Wisconsin or New York or whatever?
Correct.
Okay, does that mean that New York or Wisconsin people will not come to ASU for doing their internships or job? It doesn't work like that. But it is easier for you as Amazon to hire local talent.
Correct.
So that's why they go to local universities and they can hire whatever they can. Now, hire is a very gray area. Sometimes they will not hire anyone if they don't find them fit. Okay. So that's career fair. Information session is the key to a career fair. You usually get a list of companies who are coming to the career fair, and from that list, you as a candidate should target the companies where you want to work for, or who you want to talk to, as simple as that. Okay. Once that is done, usually they open up a poll or some booth where either there will be recruiters or software engineers or managers even sometimes. Okay, they will be there and you will be given an opportunity to talk to them. That's what a basic career fair looks like. You networking with people. If I want to give one liner to a career fair, networking. Okay, it opens up avenues to network with people from multiple companies in the same place. Now, what should you do as a candidate? Okay, let's look at it in this way. I'll give you 3 pointers which you should do and 3 which you should not do. Okay? Career fair is a very formal event, so you should be dressed to impress. Okay, you should not be dressed casually. So this comes under the don't, but let's put it in the do's. Okay, dress to impress, and keep your elevator pitch ready. By elevator pitch, what I mean is it's basically like a simple introduction about yourself. An elevator pitch is actually very interesting. Let's say you are in an elevator with someone and you have to you want to introduce yourself to them. You just have like a quick 30 to 45 seconds time window where you can introduce. So that introduction is elevator pitch. You should be ready with it, and along with that, you should be ready with your resume. Your resume should be picture perfect. There should not be typos, because let's say, think about it, you give me your resume, there is a typo in your resume, and I am able to find that typo in my first glance at resume, I'm not going to hire you. Even though it's very trivial, right? But I'm able to pinpoint a mistake in your resume, which is your document, which is your statement. It just doesn't. It is a bad message. It is a bad first impression, precisely. So you should not do that. Your resume should be precise, and you should be aware of everything which is written in your resume for the organization.
So you mentioned like dress code is one. You mentioned elevator pitch second.
Yes.
And you mentioned the resume and knowing what you've written without any typos.
Precisely.
Is third. And I think in elevator pitch, something to add is you can get as much creative as possible. That's where you can get creative, because imagine a recruiter coming for a career fair to hire someone and like listening to thousands, hundreds of elevator pitch. It just gets boring after a point. If again you are unpresentable, which covers the point number one, but also if you don't look happy, right? So it's also about the words you speak, but it's also about the way you present yourself. If you show the same level of excitement to each recruiter, that makes a lot of difference. Also, just not starting with the same old introduction, but having some kind of variation that kind of catches someone's attention, saying, "Hey, like it's more like content creating, but having a hook in the start, so that someone is hooked to listen. Okay, what exactly do you do, or who are you exactly, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think some kind of way that someone is more interested to know about you as compared to just like a same old introduction.
Precisely. That's a very fantastic way of summarizing what I said. Elevator pitches are also important for networking and in life in general. It's not just very career fair specific thing, but it's always good to be prepared with your elevator pitch when you are going to the career fairs, because as you rightly pointed out, that in career fairs there are hundreds of students who are talking to the same person on the same day.
Right.
What makes you different, right?
Right.
Oh, so it should not be like, okay, I can like solve a Rubik's
Yeah,
cube or something like that.
exactly.
Okay, that's a great thing to have, by the way, but that is not a very tangible skill which will
Relevant
give
skill.
me confidence that hey,
Exactly.
he is a good hire,
Right.
So those are not the things which I would recommend, but things which would essentially talk about the work.
Work.
I'm interested in infrastructure software development, and these are the reasons why I'm interested. In career fairs, some employers, they come up with a dedicated uh, number that we need to interview these many people
Mhm.
from this university. Okay, so they usually have a university specific apply links. Sometimes they give it away just like that, that hey, scan this QR code and apply and you're done. Or sometimes they are very selective about candidates. Only the candidates who are good will get that link, and once you apply through that link, you'll immediately get an interview. I
Interesting.
got like a couple, actually 3 interviews from career fairs in this manner, um, just by having a good elevator pitch, making a good impression on the recruiters, and and essentially showcasing what I did in the past, in that
Makes sense.
2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes.
And then what are some things which someone should avoid? Like three things to avoid.
Yeah, the number one thing which immediately comes to my mind is do not dress casually.
Hmm.
A career fair is a very formal event. You should be dressed to impress. Actually, that was like the point number one. So let's not, the point number zero. Okay. Um, don't take too much of recruiters' time. Okay. Sometimes some people can, be in the zone and they keep on talking and talking and talking for 5 minutes, 7 minutes. First of all, 5 and 7 minutes is not an elevator pitch. If let's say a recruiter is interested, he will ask you about it. He will be like, hey, can you tell me more about this?
Right.
Or if let's say you are done with your pitch, you can just ask, hey, would you like to give me more details on something you would,
Right.
you would be interested in? A different story. But let's say if without even asking, you are like giving more and more and more info on something, that just gives bad impression and pulls away interest out of you, even though let's say the experience and everything might be very very good and very
Right.
precisely on what they are working on, right? So you should not do that. Don't take too much time. uh, Second number thing is, sometimes the career fair can take the form of an interview, but most of the time it is not. Okay, so let's say if you are going to the kind of conversation you can or cannot have, if let's say a recruiter is interested in the resume, talk about the resume. If the recruiter is willing to talk about their company, their projects, talk about them as to how their project interests you. So you should be flexible. You should not be you should not have this mindset in a career fair that hey, I'm here to get hired, and that's what I want you to do for me.
Okay.
Recruiters are not obligated to do anything. So if they want to talk about their company, let them talk about their company and ask good questions. Okay.
Okay.
That can also create good impressions and it can open up some avenues. Um, Third thing is don't forget to reach back out. Okay. Let's say you will be meeting, let's say 20 people.
Right.
Okay. Just write a simple LinkedIn note that hey, it was great talking to you. I would like to continue this conversation over, let's say, this messaging or email, whatever works best for you. Or let's say if they give you their email, that's even better. Just email them. It was a great conversation. Great to talk to you. I would like to know more about your company and the opportunities which I may have with my role.
Right.
And yeah, you can have
Makes sense.
a decent opportunity getting out of it. I'll tell you one very good experience of mine working with Intuit as a company. So I was in their career fair booth, it was a dedicated career fair, so they had a room. Basically, that means that they had a keynote. So they
Right.
had some key speakers were speaking in that conversation. They were essentially telling us about what they are working on, what kind of products, and all of those things. So the conversation which I had with the recruiter was all around Intuit's products. It was nothing about my experience. It was nowhere near to what I worked on. It was all about Intuit's products,
Intuit.
and that's what we talked about. The end of the conversation, she was like, "Hey, it was fun talking to you. Here is my email. Email me your resume." Right? I emailed her. She sent me the job link. I applied. I got the interview. Okay. So it is
It's
not
less about us, more about the company, basically.
yes what they are here for, right?
Makes sense.
So even though the conversation we had was not even one bit about my experience, still they gave me the opportunity to at least interview with them. So yeah, that's how it is.
Makes sense. And now, considering once you have cleared the resume and the career fairs, eventually we come to the internship and full time, right? So one way of getting an internship and full time is, as you mentioned, via career fairs, getting a job link, applying, and getting interviews. This is like a fastest way of like referral types of a path.
Yes.
Apart from these, what are some other ways where ASU a student can get a full time job?
Okay, career fairs, number one. Career fairs is a great opportunity. Sometimes really good employers come in, and they are coming with a mind to hire. So number one, you should look at that. Number two, if reaching out to your alumni network, talking to your alumni who are already working there, and yeah, basically just networking with them, asking them more about the company, asking them about the interview processes and your interest in working there, and potentially a referral. Right? If you are able to get a referral, it is great, because referral substantially increases the probability of you getting that interview. So referral is point number two. Does it mean that the people who apply without a referral are like doomed? No. My LinkedIn job is without a referral, by the way.
Okay.
Right? But I was early in the game. So for point number three, you can directly apply through the link which is there in the company website, or let's say some online portals, LinkedIn, or this Glassdoors and other. Right?
Correct.
So Indeed is one more which I can think of. So apply through them. The earlier you apply, the better it is, because think about it. For let's say a, a few handful of positions, thousands of people apply. So for them, you are just giving them more incentive to pick you against everyone else if you apply early and you are under their select criteria. So these are the three ways which I can think of. Some of the other ways can be like directly reaching out to the hiring managers, because sometimes people can post on LinkedIn specifically that, hey, I'm hiring for my team, this is the position, this is the kind of work which we do, does that interest you? Sometimes either commenting on that post, or directly messaging those folks as to, hey, I have this experience, this resume, would you be interested in talking more about this? I would be interested in talking more about this. So those are like four things which I can immediately, which comes to my mind for finding a job as a software engineer. Yeah.
And before we wrap up, right, I think one question is, if you had to do your masters all over again,
Okay.
what would you change about it so that the other people who are watching this will not make the same mistakes? Not the mistakes, but would avoid those pathways.
Absolutely, yes. There is one very personal thing for me. Okay, this is very personalized experience for me. I think most of the folks who are watching it may not be in the same situation, but still, I'll just put it, given that you have just asked me this question. So I was a COVID generation. So 2019 to 21, that was like the prime lockdown period. Basically, I still had the opportunity to go to the university like 6 to 8 months, 8 months, which is like okay time. But still, I would have liked to physically go and network with people, talk to my peers, do some projects by sitting together, not in a lockdown and on a Zoom calls and stuff. That is fine. But the real essence of masters is networking, talking to people, meeting people, and exchanging your experiences and information, real time with them. So that is something which I would have liked. If someone is coming to masters, and the one bit which they can do is talk to many people, make new friends. Okay. And it's not just like, okay, this is what I do, this is what you do, done with the conversation. No, man, just make new friends, go out with them, go partying, all of those things. Those are a part of experience, man. And as a student, you should and must do it. So that is one thing which I would have done more. Networking with my peers, partying. ASU is a party school. ASU has lit awesome parties. I would have loved to go there. I didn't get the opportunity, so I would have that is something which I would change for myself. Second thing, so the one thing which I would tell everybody is, even before coming here, your work starts. Okay. So think about what courses are best suited for yourself, and then get those specific courses, and make sure that you plan out everything, because those courses are not the only thing in your life. There may be an on-campus job, there may be some interviews which will be lined up. You have to think about time as a resource. Okay.
Right.
Time as a resource, thinking about time as a resource is thing number two. Thing number three is, don't forget. So this is something which I did because I had a great set of friends. Okay. My roommates were my friends, my best friends. I had a lot of people who were friends who were living around me, like my neighbors and everyone. So we used to go on trips. We went to Las Vegas, we went to like national parks. Make sure to explore. That time is not going to come back, so make sure to be there and do that.
Perfect. I think this was a really great session. I think we covered a lot about the masters series, everything to do with resume, career fairs, internships, full time, rent, monthly, like how do you find rental apartments. So thank you, Ajinkya, for being on the podcast again and
Thank
helping
you.
other students who want to come to US for their masters or are already in the US for their masters and looking out for
Absolutely.
jobs. Hey everyone. So as you saw, we've covered a lot about masters specifically in the Arizona State University, but I think all the advice is mentioned in for ASU is applicable to all the universities as well. So if you're someone who's again looking in India or somewhere else but looking to do your masters in university in USA, these advices will be really, really helpful for you. I wish someone gave me this advice. These advices are right now in every senior's head, but it's difficult for everyone to have friends, to be friends with seniors, to get this information. Hence, I think the objective of the podcast is to send this information out to as many people as possible. So feel free to subscribe to have more such updates on your phone or your PC, like so that YouTube kind of pushes this video and more people kind of get advice which will be helpful for them. And also share this with your friends who might be planning for their masters, or if have any questions about getting a part-time or a full-time or on-campus job, right? And if you have any more questions about masters or getting a job in US, feel free to put down in the comment section below, and we will try to answer those in the upcoming episodes. Thank you for watching.